Hello, Internet, and welcome to my live reaction for Fire Force Chapter 247. As you can see, I am not home right now. I am in a hotel, so you'll forgive me if the lighting isn't really what we're normally used to, but it still gets the job done, I'd say. Anyway, when we last left our heroes, we checked in on Vulcan, Lisa, and Yu as they explored the Amaterasu, and as they opened the gate to the center of Amaterasu, they were intercepted by Giovanni, who they started fighting, and who Giovanni dropped some plot twist bombs on them, specifically that Pi is a destruction spell that has been worked on by the evangelists since antiquity, which is a lot. That's just a whole lot. And that the sun was formerly an Earth at some point. We don't really know when that happened. I think that was kind of mentioned at one point by Haumea a long time ago. I saw someone bring up, but I had forgotten about that. So yeah, that's right where we leave off with Giovanni just dropping that bomb on Vulcan. So let's jump right on into chapter 247, 250 Years of Obsession. And our picture here is like a lightning bug. He reminds me of like a power company mascot from back home. Anyway, there's no blurb here or anything like there normally would be. So that's interesting. And so yeah, we jump kind of right on into, no, I thought we'd be going into more of Giovanni's expositing, but I think this is Shinra. Because we see these kind of very artistically rendered flames. Lots of, like, curls and, that whole kind of thing. We see a sun made up of these same curls in the sky. And what I imagine is Shinra thinking, is this Adola? The pillars. Where is Sho? Where are the others? What's going on with the cataclysm? I have to stop it. And then we come right back to Giovanni. All of the pillars have gone to Adola. There, they've become pillars bridging Adola with this realm, tying them together. And there, human thought has aligned with destruction. It has become its true essence. This world will become a second sun. So yeah, it's basically just reiterating what he said last time, along with some things that we kind of already knew about the pillars being the ones to do it. And Yu responds, "That's impossible. I don't believe it." And Vulcan just tells him, "The moon has a face on it, Yu. At this point, we have no idea what could happen." I'm glad Vulcan has his head on straight. And then we see Vulcan licked. Come in, licked. Vulcan-kun, we see that he's been in communication with Licht the whole time, who says, "I heard it all. It's hard to believe, but when I consider the findings of Company 8, he could be telling the truth. We've got our hands pretty full out here, but we'll find a way to make it to you." And we see everyone fighting all of the infernals that Ritsu has summoned. There's so much going on in that panel. We see Tamaki, Arrow, Obi, Maki, Hinawa, all kinds of infernals that we kind of saw for about one panel before we focused on the Charon stuff and then the dragon stuff. Speaking of, we don't see Charon or dragon in this panel, so we'll see what's going on there. But Victor then just says, "Just hang on till then." And then we come back to Adola, as Giovanni uses his weird tendril things to go towards Lisa. "Step aside, please." And Lisa cuts into them with her own tentacles. Like hell! Vulcan's ancestors built this place. I'm not going to let you use it as a tool of destruction. There's still a question about that, though. There's still the overlying mystery of if Vulcan's ancestors built it, why is there an identical one in China? We haven't really delved into that since the China arc, and I'm curious if that will be resolved. Anyway, Giovanni says, "From the very beginning, Amaterasu was intended as a tool to bring about a cataclysm." And Vulcan questions, "Then why did my ancestors hide the key? 250 years ago, your family, the Joseph clan, helped us build Amaterasu." And Vulcan asks us, "Who the hell are you?" Yeah, actually, kind of wondered. Like I may mention before, what the fuck is Giovanni as he's become more and more inhuman? Because you'll recall he was originally presented as a fellow disciple of Vulcan's father under Vulcan's grandfather. Um, and I suspect we're about to find something that blows the lid off that. Maybe something closer to Yona. Anyway, we step right into flashback now. During the construction of Amaterasu, those who had found Hyjima spearheaded a group to build it. My ancestors and yours both participated with the project. Both of our ancestors were responsible for power generation. But your family, the Josephs. Interesting thing here, though, is we see both our both our ancestors panel. They're represented with these, kind of vaguely silhouette-like things. But on the both of our ancestors, they're much more inhuman. They don't have a clear mouth. They have very bulbous eyes that could represent Giovanni, whereas the Josephs look much more human. Anyway, but your family, the Josephs, and we see, I guess it's like the center power generator for Amaterasu, and the Joseph sits down next to it, and he listens to it, and he hears a thunk, which I'm guessing is the first pillar in there. And he steps back in panic. Who's there? This is Amaterasu calling out to him. Help! Help me! And kind of realizing that, then Giovanni continues his story. Like fools, they hid away the key to Amaterasu's true power. And so my line has monitored yours since that day, waiting for the time to come. And we see, a figure very clearly meant to represent Giovanni. We see the plague mask, watching over a line of Josephs. And Vulcan snaps at him. Monitored? Gramps, the old man. You murder them both by turning them into infernals. I afforded fools who denied the will of Adola liberation by flame. Yes, see, this is why people call you a cult, Giovanni. Because you say shit like that sometimes. And Lisa, swings at him. You monster! We gave you the power of science. You would turn your foolishness against me. And Lisa flinches. Presumably due to, the trauma she suffered from Giovanni. And Giovanni covers her with the blackness that's his body at this point. And Lisa is surrounded by him. And from the darkness, eyes appear, all staring at Lisa. And she just, breaks them all away with her tentacles. And lands back on the ground. And as she, gets back on the ground, Vulcan asks her, you good? What the hell is with his body? And Lisa responds, it's all bugs. Oh. Those are just, he's nothing but bugs at this point. Okay. I mean, we kind of saw the beginning of that in Nether 2, but, there was still a man underneath there. Now, I don't know. Is he just, the collective consciousness of this group of bugs? Is that what he's supposed to be now? I have no idea, but that is a really cool panel right there, as Lisa and Vulcan stare up at the insect horde that is Giovanni. And we see, the buzzing flies behind Giovanni as Lisa continues, that wriggling blackness, nothing but insects. And she's starting to tremble, and Vulcan grabs her shoulder to calm her down. You're all right. I'm with you. He's got to be controlling the bugs somehow. I've got a plan. We can do this together. Okay. So it seems like Vulcan still believes there is a man inside Giovanni. That there's a man there who's controlling the swarm. I'm not so sure, but he may be right. And then Vulcan calls back, you, get it ready. You got it. And he pulls a bunch of stuff out of his knapsack. While Lisa defends against Giovanni while they can get this thing ready. And Giovanni sends a bunch of bugs right at Lisa and says, do you remember Feeler? Vulcan? And then the thing is ready, apparently. Lisa, stick a tentacle in this. I have no idea what that's supposed to do. But Giovanni just responds, foolishness. I've done my research on the Adola bugs. They act by sensing magnetic field fluctuations through organs humans lack. I'm going to destroy your ability to detect and command them. What? And Lisa sticks a tentacle on the machine, and it starts to turn on. And all of the bugs just kind of dissipate from the structure that Giovanni has been using. And he just falls to the ground. A single, like, spider-looking bug at this point, as all of the Adola bugs leave. What? And he hits the ground. And then Vulcan just stares at him from above. Lisa's power has disrupted the magnetic field, and now all your bugs have dispersed. That's your real form? Pathetic. To be continued, chapter 248, A Life Force Dispersed. No chapter next week. Okay. Before I delve into the rest of the chapter that I really liked, I'm gonna take a minute to talk about this last scene. I feel like the first thing that comes to me is, how would Vulcan do his research on the Adola bugs? You know, they're not exactly... I mean, do they have even just, like, an infernal bug? Did they, like, get a specimen at some point? Maybe during Obi's rescue? To research? Because, I think if he had, if at some point Company 8 had gotten one of the bugs, then that would work. Logistically. How Vulcan would know. And I think that's likely enough that that's not really my big problem with the end of the fight. It's that it's so anticlimactic. You know, they get this thing developed in the course of a page. Lisa puts her tentacle in, and Giovanni just falls. And maybe there's more to it, you know. I don't know, the sudden image that just popped into my head, like, 5 seconds ago, is Envy in FMA. How in the end, Envy was just that little critter. Who eventually rips his heart out, yada yada, which I can't see Giovanni doing. But Envy was, like, beaten down, was burned over and over again. Like, Mustang won the fight. There was a fight before Envy, you know, was reduced to that state. This was just, you know, we have a couple of swipes between Lisa and Giovanni, and then she sticks her tentacle in, and then he just kind of falls. And it is just kind of a little anticlimactic. And I even think there was a, like, given that I'm pretty sure Lisa's tentacles have already been stated to kind of disrupt magnetic fields in the past, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. I think a much more sensible way of doing this would, instead of having Lisa put her tentacle in the thing and then boom, all the bugs just disappear or dissipate. Like, as she's fighting Giovanni, you know, she, like, cuts, her tentacle, like, swings through some of the bugs, and the bugs, like, can't reconnect or something. I think that works. That just, like, makes more logistical sense to me than, or more, it seems like it'd be a more interesting fight than just she puts her tentacle in the thing and then Giovanni just instantly dies, or instantly, loses. Though I am interested in this notion that Giovanni is a single bug at this point. Because has he always been a single bug, or was he originally actually a human man? Because wasn't there the implication way back when that Vulcan had seen Giovanni's true face underneath the Plague Doctor's mask? So maybe the bug experiments that we've kind of seen become larger and larger with Giovanni have now left him just a single bug. That might be it. I think that would make sense in the end. But beyond that, the backstory we get is, it's interesting. Is not exactly something we could not have figured out. You know, we know that the first pillar was in there from the very beginning, but we kind of could have figured that. I do admittedly love the art for it. Ohkubo's, like, stylization of the ancient people is really interesting. I'm kind of curious if there's something more to it than just stylization. Um, like, I don't think this would really work because it's more cartoonish than it is now, but maybe, like, a bridge between the 3D people of the pre-Cataclysm and the anime people of the current worlds. But that wouldn't really work because they would have to get more cartoony and then less cartoony unless they initially, this is just crazy out of left field, could be super wrong, um, unless they initially, in the aftermath of the Cataclysm, looked like the people we see in the flashback. And then as Adola kind of went further away from Earth, they took on more realistic form, but not like a super realistic form. More like the anime that we see now. Maybe I'm just talking out my ass here. I have no idea if I'm right or not. But it is a really like nice artistic choice. I especially love this image of Giovanni looking over the Josephs. It's a really cool panel here on page 11. We also get some more great panels just with the top of 14. With like the bug body looming over Vulcan and Lisa. But yeah, beyond that, it is kind of, we also check in a little bit on Shinra. For like I kind of forgot about that. For a single page, he's just in Adola alone, which is interesting. He's not with the pillars; they're not all together. It's just him alone. Also, the silhouette of Shinra, it might just be how the panel is conveyed because it's a black border panel and Shinra's in silhouette. So I'm not sure if this is actually Shinra. Like what I'm talking about here is in the bottom right corner of 3. We see the Shinra silhouette. And then we also see what could possibly be part of Shinra is one of the flames of Adola. And so what I'm kind of wondering is we see these other large, almost pillars of flame in Adola. Could the pillars have become this kind of curly Q flame thing we see here? Maybe? Maybe not. It's either or. I think it'd be an interesting choice, but then they'd eventually have to, like, stop being that so that they can engage with the plot. So I doubt it, honestly. It might just be an artistic rendering, but if it's not, you heard it first here, folks. And then, yeah, we see outside, they're still busy with the siege. Company 8 is. And then, yeah, Giovanni is kind of down. Maybe for good. It just feels like a really lackluster end to a villain who's been built up for so long. Like Giovanni was first introduced, I think he's the earliest of like the current villains to have been introduced in the series. You know, like he's there before really any named Whiteclad besides Arrow, who's a protagonist, and Rekka, who's super dead. And Haran, I think, was also there for Rekka's assassination, but he's also super dead. And it's just kind of disappointing that he just falls like that. You know? And maybe next chapter we'll expand on it better. Have a really good ending for Giovanni. But until then, until 2 weeks from now, because we're off next week, until 2 weeks from now, this is all we get. So I'm going to reserve judgment until we see the fight, we see the Giovanni storyline play out next week in A Life Force Dispersed, which seems to be referring to Giovanni as his bugs have kind of dispersed thanks to the magnetic wave that Lisa set up. But yeah, I'm going to save all judgment for then. So yeah, that's all I have to say for this video. Hope you all enjoyed the chapter and the video itself. If you did, feel free to drop me a like or subscribe or, you know, do whatever makes you happy, you know? And remember, your life is your own, okay? Bye!